heard the terminology Akashic Records. I was sitting in an apartment of mine, and I've shared this with several people, so thanks for your patience. I was sitting in my apartment and I was meditating, and I back then I always had to focus on an object or a flickering light or something in order for me to meditate. And so I'm sitting there, and I was in my 40s, early 40s, and all of a sudden I went down the street and into this building with big pillars and brass and gold and stuff all over. And there was one of the ancient gods, and I can never remember which one it is, but I didn't know who he was. It was just this guy standing there, and he nodded to me, and I knew I was supposed to follow him. So I followed him down this hallway, and it was all old, like Egyptian pillars and, whatever. Anyway, and then he nodded again, and I stepped into this area. I don't think it was really a room, but an area. And there was a big pillar there and this book that was about this big sitting there. And it was
When
open.
you said this big, you mean it was that thick?
It was that thick, yes. And it was probably about this big. And it was open. So I walked up to it and looked down and saw what this life purpose was for me. That's all I saw. Didn't see anything from the past, nothing from the future, just exactly, I knew that that's what I was supposed to do with my life. And I didn't even know it had anything to do with anything. But when I came back out of it, I thought, well, that was an interesting thought. Boy, my imagination's really good, because I figured it was just something that came to mind. And so then Carl Franklin came, and that was back in, I think it was 2015 or 2016. I went to have a reading with Carl Franklin. And he told me verbatim, other than like the color of the tile, what is that stuff?
Marble.
No, it was marble. The color of the marble was a little off, and there was a few differences in what he said, but basically he told me the same thing, and he told me the same purpose.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah.
So I was 40, when I was 40, that was in the 80s, and then 2015, it was given back to me as proof.
Yeah.
Neat.
Would you mind sharing what your purpose is, or would you rather not?
Oh, well, it's what I do. I'm totally available to help people get their best and highest good. And I am supposed to give whatever is needed to anyone if I have it.
Yeah.
That's and I also know that I'll be back another lifetime to do it again. I'm not done.
Does anyone have any questions or comments or anything for Vicki?
I mean, I thought I was crazy. For sure.
Well, you are.
That's a given. Come here for your confirmation.
So different people are seeing these different rooms and whatever. Do you think that is what we expect to see? That they're showing it to us that way to make us comfortable?
No.
Or do you think that's really the way it is?
But I didn't know that it existed when I saw it. So it's not like somebody said, oh, have you ever read your Akashic Records? Because I didn't know what they were.
But the way it was presented with the game and all that, I mean,
But
I
it,
think that is
It
consistent
was-
for
it was
everybody,
very
or do you think
ancient.
everybody perceives it how
I
they
give
think it would
up
be?
after this.
yeah, I don't know.
That's what I.
Our human perception, we might only be able to see things a certain way.
Yes, right.
Yeah, some people might think of it as a library, somebody else might think of it as something else.
There was tons of books in there. Big fat books.
That's what I think, because I think that's similar to, after we die, our perception of where we're going is based on our perception. Someone else's is different.
That's true, because like if you think, well, you have to go to school again when you go, and then your mind sees you sitting in a desk with a room full of other
Yeah.
souls all learning lessons.
Yeah.
That's, your mind automatically creates that
That's what our
in order to
experience, yeah.
understand it.
Well, and my husband always talked about the golden streets, and I mean, he was into Bible thumping,
Oh.
so he was into that. And I said, what makes you think that? Just because you read it in a book, which I don't have any doubt that a Bible is an extremely helpful, beneficial, and should be read book.
Right.
But how do you know that the writer of this chapter here didn't see things differently because of their view, like you talked about,
Yeah.
And he says, well, if I'm not going to be 100% back to health and young and walking the streets, just what am I going to be doing? And I says, I haven't ever been there, so I can't tell you. But I mean, maybe you're going to be in a bubble and you're going to be bouncing around. And when you bounce into a bubble next to you, you're going to recognize who it is.
I'm sure he didn't want to hear that.
He just said, you're nuts. It's okay.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, well, the first I heard of Akashic Records was when I was reading books about Edgar Casey and what he had to say about them. And he mentioned this big room with the books and all, could take their book down. But now that I think about it, I wonder if it's like Vicki said, maybe it's what we can perceive as humans that we would understand, because since then I've seen on the History Channel of all things, they're talking about things like this. And Nikola Tesla, Thomas Edison, J.K. Rowling, they've all said that they got their ideas from outside of themselves.
Right.
And somewhere I saw the idea that the Akashic Records are really their collective consciousness of the whole world, since the beginning of time. It's all there, and you can access it. And sometimes it comes to you out of the blue. Like Tesla, Leonardo da Vinci.
Mm-hmm.
He was drawing pictures of submarines and flying machines and all these things that didn't exist then. He was getting those ideas from somewhere. So maybe we can access future ideas also. And I find that pretty interesting. So my idea is of the Akashic Records has shifted from just a room with some books to ideas all around.
Yeah.
Another thing about those ideas that came to these inventors was that the same ideas came to people thousands of miles away at the same time.
At the same time.
Yeah, like
Yes,
Marconi with his radio and Edison with his inventions and Alexander Graham Bell with his phone. It was invented in Europe at the same time. And I've had things myself, an idea will pop into my head and I think, oh, I should do something about that, like an invention. And I don't do anything, and then I see in the paper a while later that somebody else did.
Exactly, and that's happened to me in my life too. So I think that we do, connect all over the
If we're
place.
receptive to these ideas, And, well, that's about it. That's what I think it is.
Okay. And based on that, have you ever tried to access your own Akashic records?
No, although I did have regressions a couple of times, and they were interesting. One of them was that I was how can you say, these galleys in the Roman days, I was the boss telling them when to row and whatever.
I believe
the whip.
that.
Like I told my kids that, and they said, yeah, that's you, Ma. And another one, which was done by Holly, she got me back to a place, I don't know if it was Greece or someplace like that, but I was a hermit. And I lived up in a cave. And she said, picture yourself walking. So I walked down to this little village by the sea. And I don't know what the heck I was doing there, maybe getting some food or something. But she asked me, what was I eating? I said, oh, whatever's around, locusts, whatever I could find. And I thought that was pretty interesting because there are times when I do want to be a hermit. I want to be by myself, leave me alone, everybody. Not all the time, but sometimes.
Yeah.
So I could believe that.
Yeah.
And the taskmaster, my kids believed that.
I believe that.
You don't even know me.
Oh, yes, I do.
Oh, you do.
I can tell that about you.
Oh, you kid.
Yeah, that's your personality.
Oh,
Wouldn't you say so? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So,
Any
None of
questions
us
or
can
comments?
hide from Caroline.
no, I guess not.
Don't tell anyone though. Okay, thank you.
Well, I've never had any personal experience with Akashic Records. All of the perceptions I had came from reading Brian Weiss and all the regressionists and Michael Newman and the ones that take them back in between lives, not just the past life, but what happens in between when you go through your life cycle reviews and all that. And they all describe very much what people have talked about, this room of records. And I really think a lot of that, I like what you said about the collective consciousness. I think, to me, makes more sense that it's not a place,
Yeah.
it's information. And I think the universe is connected with all of its history, past, future, from our perspective, remote locations and everything else through these low energy fields, the zero energy fields, some of the things that quantum physics is trying to understand but doesn't quite, where you can have simultaneous information exchange that exceeds the speed of light and all those kinds of things that say that there's something out there that we don't understand, but it seems to be a universal connectivity that exchanges information and gives you access to information. So I think that is more in what I've kind of come to see as what the Akashic Records represent. I think to the comments earlier, what we see when we go places outside of our physical self, I think, and it's just opinion, but I think it's framed by what we expect to see.
Right.
I mean, I read a lot of people that have had near-death experiences. The religious people see Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay. The people that aren't see, non-religious structured situations. And in the Monroe Institute, Robert Monroe did a lot of work with kind of different planes of existence outside the physical. And my impression on it is that you're going to get what you're comfortable with.
Yes.
You're going to see what you want to see in terms of the environment.
Yeah.
And it's not a fabrication; it's just a packaging.
Right.
So if you're very strong religious inclinations, then what you see in your kind of out-of-body experiences are framed by what you expect.
Right.
The afterlife or the other side to look at. If you don't have that expectation, you may see something very different. So I think at the end of the day, it's just kind of a universal information access that it doesn't exist in a certain place, doesn't exist in a certain time, but is there always. And if you know how to connect to it, then you can do that. I haven't got my head wrapped around the philosophical stuff of can I use it to find out when I'm going to die, for example, or that so I think there is some filtering that probably
On your
takes
part.
place on my part about what I can know.
Yeah.
Because if I was given a script of what I needed to know for this life cycle, there wouldn't be a point in having a life cycle. So part of this is I think we have to figure it out ourselves. We can't be given the answers in the back of the book. But for other things that probably don't have a personal impact on us, then I think there's information access out there that if you're able to tap into it, you can reach that information.
Okay. Any questions or comments or observations? Carol?
I didn't do my homework.
None of us did our homework. Rena, does that need
I
to be
didn't look
turned on?
anything up on the internet.
Have you ever heard of it?
Yes, went to one of the metaphysics meetings. It was one of the first ones that we went to. It was like, what?
How did you feel when you was hearing? I mean, was there anything that resonated with you during the talk when you was listening to it, or?
It was all just so new, just the thought of it. So, do you remember that one?
Vaguely.
Yeah.
I couldn't even tell you who the presenter was. It was probably one of the first ones we went to. So it's
Yeah.
probably 5 years
6
ago.
years, yeah.
Of all the explanations you've heard so far, which one are you more comfortable with?
I think of it as like a big library with all the books and
Okay. All right, thank you. Marina?
No, I am so out of this. I have been in and out, tried this, had to start this 3 times, had to take the dog for a walk. I had to give him, I'm a mess right
You're
now.
in the world.
I'm
She's
in
in
the
the
world.
real world.
I just baked a bunch of bread this morning, and so I am here to finally listen because I was tuning out because I kept messing up on
Oh.
the live. It's in 3 segments, so if you go back to watch it, you're gonna have to
Don't
find part 1,
worry.
part 2, part 3.
You want to turn it more? 'Cause-
No.
Oh, you don't,
Oh, the other
she
way.
doesn't want to be on it. She doesn't want to be on it.
All right.
Turn it back to your mommy.
Is the
Okay.
FBI after you?
No comment. I'm still in the car.
Okay, you're not on.
Okay. I don't have much experience on this subject. I've heard of it. In my mind, I'm with you, with someone else over there about the library. Because all I can think of is all the books, books of life in a library. Most of my experience of history for me are past life regressions, both vision dreams and doing past life regressions. So that's the way I've gotten information in this lifetime, is just stumbling on it sometimes. I have a lot of dreams. I go a lot of places.
So do you think when that's happening, you're accessing the Akashic Records? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Oh.
I'm accessing my history.
Right,
In other lifetimes.
okay.
Yeah, I've done some program regression things that were terrific, where I could say, I want to go to, I had a great teacher a while ago. He passed away, unfortunately. Wonderful man. And we had a group going over in St. Pete that was incredible under him. So I did a regression there, and he said, ask to regress to a lifetime where someone you know in this lifetime was the first time you met them, was this other lifetime. And I knew right away what I wanted to do. So we did it in pairs, and everybody had a phenomenal experience. And his method was great. I still have it somewhere. But anyway, I went back to a lifetime of someone I've met in this lifetime. That happens to be a psychic. The one we met went, I feel like we're, we know each other. And we joked about past life. So I asked to go to the first life I had with this person. And I ended up way back in time. And I was on the floor in this meditation, yet I was somewhere else in full living color, walking through this village, seeing where my friend lived with her husband and kids. It was an incredible experience. And then I came back out. And then I assisted the woman with me, and she went to Africa and was part of a tribe and had been captured and was now a slave to this other tribe. It was all incredibly detailed. Wherever any of us went, it was a super experience. Lots of times I have vision dreams where I end up in other lifetimes.
Have you ever accessed someone else's Akashic records?
No, I haven't had any desire to do that. And my vision dreams just happen. I mean, I know when I wake up it's a vision dream because it's so real.
Now, what do you mean by a vision?
I mean, it's not this lifetime, I'm in another lifetime.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it's not a future thing, it's a part of me past thing.
Any questions or comments for Laura?
Do you see yourself? Do you know what you look like and who
Yes.
you are?
Good question. One time I was standing in this, what felt like old English kind of area next to a lovely bit of water in a park. And on the other side of the park was this street with townhomes going up it, but it was still felt like it was 1800s or something like that. And there was a wedding going on and we were waiting for the bride and groom to arrive in the coach with horses. It was that kind of time frame before cars. And there was a bush next to the water, all in bloom, except the blooms were lights, different colored lights. So it was almost as if I was in another kind of world, if you will. And I turned to the woman next to me and I could tell she was connected to me like a grandmother kind of figure, but a psychic with the blue eyes, and just looked at me and smiled at me like embracing me. And then I looked down and I was a guy. I had a suit and long pants on. And I went, oh, that's interesting. So that's the only life I've had that I realized I was a different sex than I am
So
this
you
life.
actually didn't see your face though?
No. But it was really interesting.
Okay, thank you. Well, in my experience, I'll go back a little bit. Those of you who have been in my workshops know that one of the things I teach about the auras is that in your aura is the frequency of everything going on with you physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually,
Right now.
and contains the frequency of your past, meaning in this lifetime. And if you play on the game board of past lives, which obviously we all do, it contains the frequency of all your past lives. So my thinking is, and I haven't come to the conclusion yet, but my wondering is this our Akashic record? If in your aura it contains the frequencies of everything about you, that's what would be in a book. You know, it's all the information about you from the beginning when you started, whenever that was. So is your aura, is your energy field, your Akashic records?
Right.
Now, that's my opinion right now, because why wouldn't it be? If it contains all the information about you, why wouldn't it be your Akashic records? So in a sense, every time I give a reading then, in a sense, I'm reading that person's Akashic records. Because I pick up information, not always, but about some people, about their past, their present, their future, physical problems, emotional problems, past lives, etc. So in that sense, in my perception right now, and it's been like this for a while, I'm reading that person's Akashic records. It's not a book. I haven't gone anywhere. You know, they're right there or it's on the phone. Having said that, that's how I feel right now. Now, that's not a set in stone opinion, but it's more an analysis of information. Then setting that aside, I had a dream one time, many years ago when I first started in this field. And in the dream, I was in a big room. It looked like a library, but it wasn't a library. But there were all these huge volumes of books, you know. and it had aisles, and I was walking down the aisle very slowly. And as I was walking down the aisle and I would glance at a book, I could read all about the person who that book was about. So in that instance, in my dream, but I had heard about the Akashic Records from the Casey thing, and about a library and so on. So whether my dream was influenced by that, I mean, who knows? So right now, my perception is you are walking around with your own Akashic record. Because everything about you, all the information about you on all levels, all past lives, everything is in your aura. So my logical conclusion, and that's logical thinking, is that that's your Akashic records.
When you said something that really triggered my brain, and that was past life game. And I would like to propose out to the world that's watching, anyone that knows about the Akashic Records, that they produce a game that we can play. Because I want to buy it.
Okay.
Why don't you
Then
invent
you
it?
invent it.
Well, yeah, no, I'm lazy.
No, you're not.
She's had so many past lives. She's here to talk.
Yeah, I don't want to do it. I just want to pay the money to buy it.
I do, with my meeting like series, I have some prayer pillows and I have some chakra balancing healing cloth sets, and I have a card game, and I have other things planned to bring forward in the future.
Well, then do a past life game.
That would be fun.
A board game,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Monopoly, only let's go to our past lives
Yeah.
and see what we can find. Because I truly believe that spirit, regardless of what lives there are on a board, that spirit's gonna take you where you're supposed to
Oh,
go.
yeah, right, yeah, it will happen, yeah.
So I want a game.
When I used to do intensives in Buffalo, New York, when I lived there, I did intensives, and they lasted 4 days, and on the evening of the fourth day, I always had a celebration dinner. And because usually I scheduled it around Halloween time, the idea was, people came from all over, the country and so on, was at our dinner, you were supposed to come as you were in a past life.
Oh,
And so people would come in, these different costumes and so on. That was so much fun, wasn't it, Marina?
It was.
Yeah, and Marina would make the celebration dinner, so she made all these things to go with Halloween and, the whole thing. And so some of the people, the costumes they came in, it was fun. People had a wonderful time with that, And then we would talk about, well, you have this costume, tell us about the past life. And this one man came in, he had all these leaves all around him here.
I have a photo of that.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, he and I together, yeah.
Was she saying he was Adam?
Well, from the very beginning, yeah.
Adam and Eve.
Yeah. And so that was a lot of fun doing, past life, not regressions, but past life celebration dinner type of thing. So we had fun doing that. So maybe I'll do it here sometime.
yeah.
I had the intensives here, but I didn't I didn't have it at Halloween time because you came to my intensive.
That would be a good topic for one of the meetings, seems to me like almost everybody's had a regression, that we could share what our regressions are.
Uh-huh, yeah,
That would be interesting.
yes, okay, yeah, it's a good idea. So, any other comments or questions or whatever about past lives, or, yes, Carol?
We went on a vacation with Patty, can't remember her last name, and she did past life regressions. And it was like,
Tricia McGiven?
Yeah. It was always cool, but I guess I came away thinking, well, what am I supposed to
That's who you
do
had. I
with
remember her,
this?
yeah. She was really good.
And came away with what?
What am I, well, it was a cool experience, but Was there more to it
Somewhere
than just
around.
like that?
She came to speak.
Well,
I've
see,
seen-
when I do readings and people ask for a past life, usually what I get is a past life that has some connection with this life.
Oh, okay.
That's what always comes through. It may not be the most recent one or whatever, but it's the one that has some information or some connection or some message
Yeah.
for this lifetime.
We were doing one where it was a group regression. We came up that we were in the same
Same
place.
Oh, is there?
that's
So
fun.
he gives his, and I was like, wait a minute, that was mine.
Not just one life.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think we were both men though.
Yeah, I think part of it was the circumstances. So we're on a tour of England, Ireland, Scotland.
Nice.
And, you know, we got a group of people who've been together for, I don't know, 14 days, whatever it is. And Patty would do group regressions throughout
Oh,
the tour.
yeah.
So you might be, you know, you might have just gone to Stonehenge, you might have just gone to Glastonbury Abbey, you might have been in Ireland somewhere. And a lot of the times it seems like we would have an experience of a past life regression, but it didn't come across as, okay, that's interesting, what do you do with it?
Oh,
Or how does it apply?
yeah.
And I think the difference may be that if you go to a regressionist and it's a one-on-one and you're kind of focused on, you know, I've got something I'm trying to work out, and they kind of connect with you, I wonder if that produces a more actionable
Mhm.
outcome from
Yeah.
the regression
Yeah,
than
I
just,
see what you mean.
because a lot of times when we were done, we talked about it and it's like, well, that was interesting, but
Yeah,
So
so
what?
what?
I think you have to, like with her, a one-on-one is the best way. 'Cause you go, she encouraged us to have a question or something that we wanted
Right.
resolved. And so I had issues with claustrophobia. And so she zeroed in on that. So that's not talking about lives that had nothing to do with that. It zeroed in on why that happened to me.
Yeah, I
Why?
found a lot of regressionists are doing things like that, like to help people physically or emotionally. Like, when did this trauma happen for you? Let's go there and then we can help resolve it. I didn't really like those as much as pick where you want to go and why. That's more of a fun and interesting thing. And that's why I like the way my friend used to do it. And I got to pick. Finding a life with someone you think you probably have another life with, that was a blast.
I've never had a past life regression.
You know?
No. I just am not interested.
I can share a reincarnation story. Well, I have had cats for
Oh, yeah.
over 40 years. And they were all strays. Well, the first two I got at the Humane Society in Florida when I lived on the other coast. And then I lived up north, and they were all strays that ended up finding their way to my front door one time or another because people had dumped them out at the curb when they moved. And so they all needed a few $100s worth of vet bills and healing and everything else. And
They sent out the message.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then finally I sent out the message after 5 that the inn is closed. And so we ended up down to one cat. One of the cats was this petite little female that was so girly. And you couldn't tell from the condition she was in when I found her. When I picked her up, she just cuddled right up against me. And so I named her Cuddles. And she was my favorite. And she was my heart. And then she died. I came home and she had died. And that was very, extremely traumatic for me. A year ago, just almost a year ago, I was over at a friend of ours' house and stopped there because we had a little garden in the backyard, well, big garden in their backyard. And I see this cat up on their patio in the chair, and it took off running and went into these bushes. And so I followed it, and it was in such poor condition. And I looked at it and I picked the cat up, and very small, and did the same exact thing as as Cuddles did.
The cat,
What?
I was talking.
Oh, the
Yeah.
And so I said, well, I can't leave you here because it was such in bad shape. It turned out the cat had mange, which the cat shared with me, and that was really rough for the two of us. Yeah, that was bad. But it turns out that this cat, which is a male, looks exactly like Cuddles. Exactly. I mean, some of the features on the face are different. Same coloring, same fur, same small petiteness. The way that he meows, which is not a meow, it's more of a sound. She did the same thing. When Cuddles had died, she got caught on something and she was actually hanging from the side of my bed, which it was so, when I found her, it was just horrible. But this cat has a problem with its right here with its leg, and it's an ongoing situation like cellulitis, I think it's called, underneath. And just everything about this cat in the way that it is with me, it's her, this cat is her, male this time, and the feistiness that it can have, but the gentleness and just the whole way that it comes up and is very cuddly and quiet and everything. And the fur, because it's not the shiny glossy fur, it's more of a dull fur, but it's her. And
Yeah, from the back particularly, it looks like Cuddles.
Exactly. So when I found him and was getting him well and everything, and he's not neutered, and I have an older neutered male that I've had for many years that was there when I had Cuddles. Not neutered, younger, older, so it would go after my other cat, but it was also peeing and everything, and I was following it around because I work out of the home and I clean it up immediately, and so I named him Puddles because it rhymed with Cuddles, and he was leaving Puddles, so now he doesn't do that ever since I had him neutered, and so, but now his name is still Puddles, and then accidentally I do and you do call him Cuddles because it's just almost like a carbon copy.
Yeah. And,
So they do come back.
To the way he climbs up by your neck and so on. That's what Cuddles used to do.
Oh my goodness, just too much of everything is her, but she's a he. So I have my Cuddles back.
Choose us. I had a cat back at the farm when I was a teenager. My mother and I were standing in the front yard talking. And this kitten, we don't know where he came from, comes up the lawn from the road straight to me and sits on my foot. And I look down, look at my mother, she goes, I think you just got a cat.
Yeah.
And he lived for a very, very long time on the farm. We named him Cricket because he was like a little cricket. He was black and white. But yeah, that cat just picked me. What are you going to do? Give him a home.
Is there anyone on your thing that has had anything to share?
I put in there
For us,
asking
or-
people to share, and I don't see any comments. That's why I had put in there.
Okay.
I know that because I had problems getting and staying on. This is the third try. So today's session's in 3 segments. So if you are watching, we usually meet from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, first Thursday of every single month. Locals here and where we are in sunny Florida, we meet and gather in person, and then I live stream it. And I usually do much better than today, but we live stream it so that you can tune in, ask questions, share your experiences, comment, anything at all. No one is doing readings here today, and no one in the chat should be offering anything either. But usually we do get people chiming in, but I messed up terribly today. Today's take 3 tries. So if you are watching this and you didn't watch the other 2, I suggest going back and starting from the beginning. I do upload these to my Meeting Ike series YouTube channel, so they'll be up there as well, besides on Facebook. So I'll have the part 1, 2, 3 all together that you can watch, and if you don't want to search all through here. I have in the comment section is your webpage and my Meeting Ike series webpage as well.
And if you know anyone, you know, in other parts of the world who would like to sit in on this meeting, let them know that they can. Also, if you have any neighbors here in Kings Point, et cetera, that you think might be interested in coming to this meeting, you know, let them know it's available if they're interested, because we certainly are open to, you know, other people coming in.
Did you share that about the reading yet?
Yeah, I think I shared everything. Can you remember some of the things she said I got right? I tried to remember the.
I think it was just 1 or 2 things that
There were
were
3,
not
I couldn't
accurate.
remember.
I mean, first she said the whole reading, and
Yeah.
then after that it was just 1 or 2 things.
Yeah,
But
3
then
things,
she scheduled another reading.
yeah, she did.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
Is there such a thing, you said, you know, the people out there in the world can tune in.
Yeah.
Can that be part of the announcement going out so that we can forward to friends in other states and stuff so that they know how to get on?
They can watch, because when we're through here, is that it goes, it's on Facebook. So they can tune in live to ask questions and be answered right away. Then they can watch it after the fact, because
Right.
it'll still be
Well,
on.
I'm
And then
just
they
saying-
can post in the comments, ask any questions, and I'll go back and look at everything.
I'm just wondering if when we get the announcement about what the title is, if we could have a sign on, how do you get in? I mean, I just
I don't know,
tell somebody, I'm gonna just tell
I've been messing
somebody
up
in
the live
Michigan
thing.
that, 1 o'clock on Thursday, go in and find
You want a link?
Carol Ann. I don't know,
I was
how are they
doing it-
gonna do that?
Yeah, it's doing it on my page, and then I make it public. But my page is generally very private, other from that. So what,
So it's after the fact.
what I can try and do, and I know you have to do it ahead of time, is sign up to be able to go live on YouTube. And that's where people can go ahead and they can subscribe and then get a notification when it's going to go live. I've never done it, so I don't know all the details on it, but that is probably a better option to be able to live stream it on Facebook, but also doing it on YouTube so that people can more easily access it on YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube,
Yeah.
people are more aware of, a
Yeah.
lot of people aren't
Yeah,
on
'cause some-
Facebook.
right, exactly.
So, yeah, YouTube, if we could get on there, that would be wonderful, because it'd be great
Yeah.
to have somebody from Canada or
Oh, I agree.
California or somebody voice in
Yeah.
and say what they've got.
I think it'll be a lot better doing it on YouTube. I didn't know anything about that, how to do it or anything, so I'm going to end up doing that.
Keep checking
See if my
kids.
And then I can, like I said, I can, with my cell phone, can get on to do live. So it can be live streamed on Facebook and it can be live streamed, live on YouTube.
The problem is when Marina goes up north,
Yeah.
the middle of May, then I don't use computers at all. So then people can't access this because I don't know how to do it and
Right.
no one has stepped
Yeah,
forward.
so that would be June through October, because we don't get down till mid-October,
So-
unless we did October's later in the month instead of in the
I
beginning.
don't want to change anything.
So,
Yeah, well, and if it was on YouTube, see, going in, remember I tried it in your personal, you had it
Yes.
on your personal stuff
Yeah,
and we couldn't connect. So, but if it was on YouTube and
Yep.
I knew how you got onto YouTube, I should be able to do that.
Yep.
Here.
What I need for next month is a volunteer to pick a subject that you want to lead the group with. You see how I'm leading it, so to speak, by, going around, et cetera. So who would be willing to pick a subject for next month?
Willing or unwilling? Who, just
unwilling,
volunteer?
How about the new guys here? We could tell them.
No, says the woman who never led at one.
And what you do is you pick the subject, and if you know nothing about it, you start reading about it or whatever. And then when you come, you just share what you've learned, and then everybody shares what they know about that subject or ask questions or whatever. So who'd be willing to do that?
Gonna start picking names out of a
Maybe we ought
hat.
to just assign people.
Well, I'm going to let
Who's
them
an
volunteer
A?
first.
Whose
I've
name
done
starts
two,
with an
so-
Yes, you
A?
have. Yes, you have. So you've done your
And
share.
I've done my share.
Yes.
Come on,
And you
people.
look like you're stepping forward.
No, I'm just moving.
You're moving forward.
Yeah.
What is your favorite topic or that you feel more connected with in the metaphysical field?
I like them all. I don't feel connected to
What is the
anyone.
one that most intrigues you?
Great.
Going on record.
I never know.
I don't know.
Dreams, crystals, psychic, metaphysic, the tarot, spiritual ascension,
Alternate
Healing.
realities,
healing, alternate realities, possession,
healing.
I don't know, probably
Power
reincarnation, but I don't know everything about it.
Well, see, what I would like, let's say you volunteered to do reincarnation, you would go home and read something about it or watch some programs on TV. In other words,
Or on
gather
YouTube.
some information about it, then share that information with the rest of the group who may not know what you've learned, and then we'll share our, information about it or ask questions or whatever. So that's the idea.
Well, the thing is, I'm not disciplined enough to do that. I have good intentions, but then I get sidetracked by this and that and the other, and then I don't do it. And then I'd be there that day going, what am I gonna say here?
Well, you don't have to say a lot. All you have to do is get other people to talk about their experiences.
But
So
what I'd
all
like-
you need
I'd
is
like
a
the
little
person to do
background,
is-
a little background,
To
yeah.
do something, read a book, whatever, and then share what they just learned, and then everybody would participate. That's what I'm looking for.
I just wonder if everybody here has had any ideas or experiences, learning about reincarnation that pertains to them.
And it doesn't have to be one person. I mean, you can team up with somebody too, if you just, like a couple of you that want to team up, in the quiet section back here.
They're hiding.
At risk of putting my butt on camera.
It's not a formal presentation, it's just sharing of something you should learn about.
I'd love to after my work. This is a real heavy time right after the first of the year. I'm a freelance editor and writer. And I've got three books sitting there to edit right now, so I mean, I don't. I didn't have any work in between up until New Year's, and then I get it, and then I get it again this summer when all the schools close and the professors start writing everything. So it's hard to get out. I'd be glad to do it later.
Has anyone had a class on any kind of metaphysical topics?
Has anyone read a book on reincarnation?
Edgar Casey, yes. No, I don't mind throwing in stuff, but I mean, that's why I'm here basically, is because that's how I started off, was reading Edgar Casey's Reincarnation, and it brought me here. I mean,
You want to do,
well, I mean, I can throw 2 cents. My problem is I tutor a kid, and I gotta leave now.
Yes.
And I just checked, and he came to school today, but he's in the this is gonna be great. He's in the principal's office because he kicked somebody. I said, do you still want me to come? And she says, yes. Yes, but I hope he's going to act okay. So, but anyway, that's why I'm reluctant, because I have Tuesdays and Thursdays with the kid.
Well, can you, do you think you can lead it next month and then have paperwork or whatever, and I can, if you have to leave, I
know
can continue on?
enough about, it's an absolutely fascinating subject to me.
Which one is?
Reincarnation.
And you don't have to have any paperwork to go
No.
with it, you know.
No,
If that doesn't work, what about like the secret life of plants? Because that fascinates me, is the communication of plants.
So do you wanna
no, that's
lead next
getting
month?
something we don't know.
Do you wanna lead next month on the secret life of plants?
Well, if you're not gonna, either I can do either,
He helps me, we always work together pretty good, because we see each
I can
other.
do April or May, but then we're gone mid-May, so one of the 2 months.
Well, who wants reincarnation?
I like that
All
stuff.
right, well, we'll do that, we'll do
Okay.
that.
All right.
You wanna do April reincarnation,
Sure,
and then I'll do
yeah,
May
we'll-
of plants?
We'll kind of do it together.
Okay.
You do regular Casey probably.
Pardon me?
Is it for Casey, your kind of primary focus on?
Yeah. He's my go-to for, I've read many of his books, and everything I ever read about him pretty much rang true, which is why I'm a fan, because it's like, he says this, and it's like, my mind says this has a ring of truth to it. So it's what introduced me way back in the 70s to metaphysics.
We were watching a program last night about reincarnation, and it was talking about the researchers who've done research in reincarnation. And Ian Stevenson, of course, was the one who really was sort of the pioneer in that. And his first book, 20 Cases Suggestive of Reincarnation, he wrote, and he's written several since, and he's done a lot of research, and yet he died. And even when he died, he said, and now I'm paraphrasing, he still can't say that he believes in reincarnation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, now that's
He will
something
next,
too.
If
If everybody,
That
if
was
we
from that
know that
program
we're gonna
last
do
night.
reincarnation next, then everybody could find a book or a movie about reincarnation to bring, so we can share it with each other,
Yes,
so we can research
That's the
those
idea.
areas.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
the
it's
idea.
an easy topic.
Yeah, so
because
that's
so
a
interesting.
assignment for everybody out there that's coming next month.
too. You're right.
Yeah, the books or the
I'll do my
movies
homework.
or any information that we can go home and research. Right,
Mhm.
yeah.
Because this is gonna be uploaded to YouTube also, is that even though it's recorded, you can put in the comments section,
Nobody knows.
any questions or comments, or, or theories, any suggestions, anything that you have come across as well,
Yeah.
so that we can interact that way. So we still have about a half hour left here, about 20, so,
Well,
that's just,
Shall we change to the chair if they
Sally's
want to
leaving.
leave earlier?
what?
Oh, I thought it was over.
I know, just-
Well, and the other thing is I could make an announcement that in November, we're gonna have another fair.
Oh, like
So
this one, it's a
the
fundraiser?
one we just had, it'll be similar to that. Yeah, we'll have readers.
You want to tell this group about
Yeah,
Sunday too?
probably, we haven't got the approval, the official approval, but we're planning on November 11th, which is Veterans Day also.
That's my birthday.
Well, it's also
That's my
Veterans
brother's
Day,
birthday.
Oh.
and so, we definitely want to have some cookies or something.
Perfect
to
day
give the
numerologically,
veterans.
it's like two,
Yeah.
two, 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 two.
Right, so, we hope that's when the date is, but don't hold us to
You
it.
want bread again?
But it'll be, pardon
You
me,
want bread again?
well, probably,
Metaphysical
I haven't talked to the committee, but, and we may expand and have more people bring like baked goods and stuff to sell, who knows? We don't know yet, we haven't met,
What about Sunday? You want to tell them about Sunday?
Well,
Can anyone
Sunday,
here attend?
you have to be a member of the society to attend. So if you're a King's Pointer, that means you, at this particular time, you're required to have a $125 gold card
Yeah.
so that you can come, or,
I bought my gold card.
Yes, you have.
yes, you do, and so you
Chantal
definitely
has
can
one.
come.
Shut down.
And we're gonna, this next, what we're doing on the first Sundays of the month right now is, for this year, we're going to practice different kinds of modality readings. So we're gonna do, somebody, if they're drawn to a deck of cards, they can utilize them. If they wanna use dice, we'll have available
Hi, Sally.
information about how to read
See you
dice,
soon.
how to read dominoes, how to do the different kinds of reading, aura readings. If somebody's really into that, we're going to research and provide or help the person that's into that kind of a reading develop their skills, so that when November comes, all the readers hopefully will be ours, and we won't have to ask people that aren't getting paid to come do the readings. We'll have trained people already. That's what our
Train
hopes
people who
are.
aren't getting paid.
Yeah, but they're members, so they have to work.
So is anyone here eligible to go on Sunday?
Yeah, Jan's a gold card.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy mine.
Are you?
Do you know
Okay.
with that gold card, you cannot bring a guest?
I know.
That's correct.
Yeah, the gold card right now,
Because I would have been my
hopefully,
guest.
hopefully things will improve and lessen a little.
I heard a rumor that they're kicking around an idea over there that it's gonna be $30 instead of $125. And
Well,
anybody
oh my
who
gosh.
bought this year, they're gonna refund the difference.
Oh,
Yeah,
no, I can guarantee you that won't happen.
And then they shut down because of COVID. We couldn't use the card and they didn't refund anything.
Nice idea, but yeah.
So anyway, November 11th, we'll be having the fair, and it'll be on the Sun City Center CA side at the campus.
I
We
can't go,
call
it's
it
my
campus.
daughter's birthday.
She's
I'm
where
busy on my
you're,
birthday.
you're gonna be in New York?
No, we'll be here,
Oh,
but
well
I'm busy
then,
on my birthday. I go out and, because I'm bored on Veterans Day, and what I did this past year is I went to Winn-Dixie. And I picked 4 people that I had the cashiers help me as a veteran. And so I paid for $25 of their groceries. So that was, I give birthday presents on my birthday.
yeah, well, that's always fun.
I started doing is going to, up north, Tim Hortons. It's kind of like a local, it's not a Starbucks, but it's a coffee place, and donuts and stuff, like a Dunkin' Donuts almost. And I went there, and the first time I did it, I sat in my car and I cried afterwards. The man in front of me, I just, I went and paid for his to get back and stuff, and he was just so blown over, and it was just like a little sandwich and a cup of coffee, and he must have thanked me like 4 times, and I just made me feel, I felt so bad in a good way, I don't know, or good in a bad way, I don't know. But when I went to go leave, I just sat in my vehicle and I put the key in the ignition, and then I just started to cry.
Well, you cried out of joy because you were able to provide. And that's the thing, for the world out there, the more you give, the more you actually receive.
I think it was more of how much it affected him, and that I wasn't expecting. And then all of a sudden, places like that and Denny's and things were going, well, come and get your free meal. Go, you copycats. Just maybe find something else to do.
Yeah,
So
that's
anyway.
a fun thing to do sometimes, like at McDonald's or somewhere when you're going through, they've already, by the time you get to the window to pay, they've already got the order behind. So then just paying for their order.
how many
Oh, yeah.
times I go to Dunkin' Donuts quite often for my breakfast, right? And sometimes for lunch. But anyway, I can't tell you how many times I go to pay and someone ahead of me
It's
pays.
already-
I said, I
yeah.
must look destitute or something. And then another time I went to get gas here, and I went to get gas, and there was, what did I say, $20 or $30 worth of gas already paid for. And on the throughway, you know, the toll, I go to pay the toll, and the toll is paid. That happened twice, and it's happening all the time.
It's because when you give, you receive. So
It's astonishing. I come home and tell Marie, and I said, I can't believe what just happened again.
I told her, I said, start looking in your rear view, no, in front of you, and see if you have a stalker, you know, or if you're single, or, you know, and, you know, you could.
Oh, Nina Buffalo, that whomever, I don't know who it was, bought my dinner at that Italian restaurant. I was alone, you know, and I was dressed nicely, so I didn't look destitute. And my whole dinner was paid for, so
So I've done that, it's fun to do that.
it's a
Yeah.
warm, heartwarming,
Yeah.
wonderful experience to know that you've given joy to somebody,
Yeah,
you know?
and a surprise, like the totally unexpected in their day.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, you just don't know if maybe the person's been feeling kind of, you know, neglected or kind of bitter about the way, you know, life has been or the world has been, and then suddenly someone generously does that and it lifts them right up.
Mhm.
Just if they're
People-
lonely
Yeah.
and to have someone to think about.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Vicki, I have an unrelated question for you. I went to that fair, and I wanted to hear Ken talk about being switched at birth, you know? But I couldn't hear him most of the time.
Well,
He wasn't talking into the mic, and he was talking fast. Does
and,
he have
and
anything
Kim,
written down that I could read?
for Kim's benefit, it was we didn't realize, so we didn't have him practice, okay? But it was the first time he's ever done any public speaking.
Well,
And so even though was a speech therapist or whatever, his comfort level wasn't there. What he wanted to do, you know, if he would have said he wanted to step on a PowerPoint, I would have helped him get it together. He didn't. His pictures were out of order, I guess, and he was very, very disappointed. He was disappointed in what happened, because it just wasn't, I guess he just, you know, you get tense when you're not used to that kind of thing.
But my problem was not hearing him because he was talking away from the mic. Once in a while he'd get near and I could hear him.
Right. Well, and those
Maybe he
mics,
should have had something hanging on it, you know?
well, we've got a clip-on, but it causes interference sometimes. The sound systems probably need some work done.
So he has nothing written down then.
But, well, he kind of did and didn't, and so he was kind of winging it, I think. And I can only tell you that he was disappointed.
Me too, because I
You
wanted to
know,
hear
I
a
wasn't
story.
in it. It's a
Maybe they'll
wonderful
bring them back
story.
again.
It is a
Yeah.
wonderful story, and I think he said something about writing a book about it.
That would be good, because then I
And
could,
so, for those that don't know what we're talking about, our member was switched at birth, but he didn't know it until he was 71. And what happened is all the time he was growing up, he kept getting his mother over to the side and saying, who's my father? You know, because his family he grew up with were all short, petite people. So like his sister's probably 5 foot if she's an inch. And he's like 6'4". Okay. His family was very, very fine featured. And he's more, I don't know what nationality it would be, but a more rugged looking individual with more prominent instead of being smooth little people. Anyway, so he always felt like he was an odd man out, and his mother kept saying, your father's your father. And so then 71 years goes by and he finds out that he has this totally different family. Evidently, the nurses, when they were feeding the babies or whatever, put the wrong baby in one of the cribs, and so the other one
What a
used
shock.
the empty crib
What a
and
shock.
went home with them, and he found out that his actual replacement died at 3.5.
Oh.
So the new family, which is this huge family of all kinds of people, just really close knit family, thought they lost their brother at 3.5. He got hit by a
What
car.
a shock for them.
And
too.
so at
Yeah.
71, they find out that that's not the case.
Oh.
And he talked about
Wow.
a
That's a
niece
fascinating story.
I think it was a niece, came walking around the corner of the room and saw him and just fell apart. She started blubbering and crying because he looked so much like her grandpa or her dad or whatever that was passed. And so there was all these wonderful things. They had, one of the pictures he has was of a fire pit. They were all sitting around the fire pit and the sun was going down in the back. There was trees and there was a light in there. And it looked like there was a man and a woman standing there.
Oh.
Wow.
And they really truly believed that it was their mother and father
Oh, wow.
that was there during this
Yeah.
event. So there's all kinds of things that he
Yeah.
talked about that is,
I wish I could have heard it.
yeah, it's
I don't know who the picture of her either.
yeah.
How'd they find out? Through
Yeah,
DNA?
talk again on that.
Yes, it was through DNA. And originally, when he first heard, he contacted one of his sisters, I think, and she thought it was some scam thing because, that happens.
Oh, yeah.
And so she kind of ignored it. So then his niece or somebody came about and contacted him, and that's how the ball got rolling. So
I saw something recently that absolutely fascinates me, and I don't know if it has a has a name. Well, I guess doppelganger is the closest.
yeah.
But I saw a video about this woman, and I forgot the circumstance, but anyway, she put her picture out on, do you remember?
There's a website, at least one website, and I had signed up on it and then I totally forgot about it.
But anyway, her picture was out there and someone contacted her who looked just like her. So they thought they were related, maybe twins or something like that. And they found out they weren't related at all. They didn't have the same DNA. They didn't have the same blood type, and nothing was the same. And so I don't know if it was her or other ones, but anyway, there's a group that is formed that one of the women has joined this and sent her picture out or whatever you do. And 7 people have responded, 7 women who look exactly like her. And yet there's no relationship whatsoever. None at all.
See, I saw mine when I
That's
was a
fascinating.
senior in high school. We went out to Michigan State University for Macbeth. And I went to the restroom and I came back and all these kids that I went to school with, they kept saying, "Oh my God, you're here. There's another of you. There's another of you." And
Yeah,
I
I've heard that a
went,
few
what? And so I'm walking down to go back to my seat, and here I come. I mean, we both just stopped dead in our tracks because we looked alike.
Yes.
Now, I'm sure that she doesn't look like me now, but at that particular time, everybody thought, that we looked like.
See, my
Yeah.
question is, I wondered, I have no clue. I'd love to find out more about this. This absolutely fascinates me because there's no relationship.
Right.
But my question is, do they have the same fingerprints?
No, nobody has the
No.
same fingerprints.
Do they have the
No.
same ear shape? Because they say everyone's ear shape is different than everyone else's. Do they have the same fingerprints? We
Well,
say
they
no,
had-
but I don't know, they looked identical.
There
Well, they
was
don't
a
have the same water.
contest that they had, and it was on YouTube or TV,
Like a
something.
60-minute show or
Oh,
something like
yeah,
that?
it was something I saw where all these people were brought together that looked alike, and there was a contest to see who was the most alike. And there were judges, I guess, that determined, but that was really interesting, and it would be interesting to
Fascinating.
find
How can they
my,
look
find my
identical
doubleganger.
when they're not related? I mean, okay, one person, okay, I can accept that, you know,
Yeah.
one. But 2 or 3
Or
more.
7.
And they say y'all can find a twin.
Yeah.
It's not
twins.
necessarily
I've been
related.
saying
Is there
that
a-
the,
is there a
so
pattern
weird.
maker out there somewhere?
I've been saying that, like, when they did the Noah's, the ark, is that when they said 2 of everything, 1 female, 1 male of the animals and everything else, I keep saying there's no way, it's just like impossible. I think that it was like a DNA storage because they
yeah.
were so much more
Oh, yes.
advanced than us,
Yeah.
is that it was all scientific.
Yeah.
And then I say with these doppelgangers is that they only have so many molds
Yeah.
for when they made us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe the ETs are cloning people.
Really?
Well, I think maybe they only have so many.
There's gotta be an explanation.
Or that very active father.
Yeah. But the DNA doesn't match. Yeah, the DNA doesn't match up. Yeah.
I think even identical twins don't have the same thing.
No,
No, no, they don't.
No,
They
they
do
don't.
it the same
Oh,
way.
that's interesting.
If they're
Right.
identical.
Oh.
But
And
they
that
look
would be
the
a
same
subject I
age,
would
the same
love to
DNA.
learn
They have the
more
same DNA,
about.
but not the
I
same
think
face.
it's just
Correct.
amazing. It's got a lot of possibilities, you know? Well, anyway, that's, I don't know what that's called. Was it called doppelganger?
Doppelganger.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
And there are websites, but like I said, I know there's this one that I joined, and I looked through. I think in the first week I popped in like 3 times to look through, but I'm busy.
I would like the website, I would like to.
I'd have to try and find it.
Because that just turns my brain on. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be amazing?
Because you have to
if you
look
found
through
your
a
double and
lot of
found out that
photographs.
she's psychic?
Yes, right. Yeah.
Yeah,
And are their birthdays the same?
No.
There's all kinds of
Mhm.
I
questions.
guess
No.
not.
They're not.
So they're not the same
No.
age then?
Yeah.
They're
Not
same age.
exact same age, but yeah.
But then,
Oh.
Yeah.
on that contest thing, there was like, a couple guys that I think they were like 2 years apart
Yeah,
or
they're pretty
something.
close, which
Yeah.
is,
Uh-huh.
that in itself is bizarre.
Yeah, I know, it just, doesn't that just trigger something in your brain about what are the possibilities that?
But it's no different than what she said about having a thought that, oh, this would be a good thing to
Yeah.
develop. And then a month or 2 later,
Somebody
it
else
happens.
has
Somebody
done it.
else has done it. And, because I used to get that all the time when I was young, especially when I was young. And it got to the point where I kept hearing that it was happening, all these things was happening. So then whenever I had a thought, I'd just say, okay, universe, send it out there, give it to somebody
Someone's gonna come
that's
up-
active enough to do it.
Someone's gonna come up with a
I was always
reincarnation
lazy to
game.
do it.
Yeah, I was too lazy.
And someone's gonna come up with a reincarnation game, because you just mentioned
Yes,
it.
and I hope to find it before I leave this earth.
Yeah.
They better hurry.
Well, if anyone hears any more information about this, what doppelganger thing, which I think this is much more, extensive than just doppelganger is your double. Well, that indicates there's 2 of you.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about 3, 4, 5, I mean, come on,
Seven.
there's something
Yeah.
it's fascinating about.
And that there's no DNA
Yeah.
connection at all, not
Yeah.
even like distant, when they say that, they show the family tree and vast, families that are vastly apart, there's still a connection,
Yeah.
but they're saying that there is no connection with them.
Yeah, and I
So
mean,
if it's
their
not a DNA,
background is
how,
different.
there's something.
grandparents and so on came from different countries, so
Yeah.
it's not even a, a national.
Genetic.
And some of them are
Yeah.
actually, they have like the same line of work or the same type of foods and
Oh,
different,
yeah.
oh yeah, it's really peculiar because you're thinking, how are you doing that?
My
If
mother,
it's not-
there was a period of time when my mother could have been the queen
The queen of what?
of England.
Oh, okay.
The looks,
Really?
yeah. Now, my mother's father is British.
Oh.
That's a whole nother thing, like my son.
But they're
My
German.
mother's maiden name was Alan. I gave a boy up for adoption, found him when he was 32. His name is Alan,
Oh.
his last name.
Uh-huh.
He sent me a picture of his wedding, and his father and my grandfather could have been brothers.
Oh,
Wow.
my.
And so I've always been fascinated. I've joined
Wow.
Ancestry, but I haven't found anything, any connection really, and I don't know. I don't know whether he's ever done any research or not. But that would be very, very interesting to find out that a relative of mine raised my
Yeah.
kid.
Now,
I
was
think that
his
would
adoptive
be
father
cool.
German? Because actually the British, the royalty, they're not actually British, they're German.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I'm just saying my mother looked like the queen. This has nothing to do with my son.
Yeah, but he's still the DNA of your mother too.
Well,
And then I'm just wondering if the adoptive father was actually, since it was British on your side, I wonder if the adoptive father was German.
no, he came from England.
Oh, so the adoptive father was British.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my grandfather came from, his relatives came over from England.
Well, I'm an extremely private person, but
And here she is
think I
on
would like
Facebook.
yeah, but they don't know anything about my personal life. And yet I think I would like to put my picture there to see,
Yeah.
yeah. And as you said, to see, are they a practicing psychic?
Wouldn't that be cool?
Wouldn't that?
That would be
Yeah.
really
You
fascinating.
have to look through
That's a
a
book in
lot of
itself.
photographs, but then also people are looking through also, and if they come across yours, they contact
Right,
you.
yeah.
So I'll have to find that site and try and log in again to see if anyone's contacted me,
Yeah, right. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, because look at how you and Chrissy, although you're related, aren't you? Yeah. Yeah.
What do you mean, aren't we?
No, I mean, I know you're related, that isn't what I meant. But, I mean, my granddaughter it could be her daughter.
Well, people, ever since she was a baby, and my sister and I would go out with my sister's two kids, and like we were at a restaurant one time, and they asked my sister, what does your daughter want to eat? And then she got the order, and she turned to me and says, what does your daughter want to eat? And everybody looked up, we all looked at one another at the table, so I said, well, what would you like to eat? So she's my sister's youngest daughter.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's a mini me. It's even, things that she likes and, prefers and stuff. It's
Yeah, I mean, there is.
very peculiar.
They're related, so okay, but I just think I don't know, there's something about that I think is important.
That would be a fascinating book.
Yeah.
Book about Carol Ann and her double, and both of them being
I think
ladies.
it's reincarnated, decided to do 6 lives, so.
Then we think about alternate
Soul
reality.
splitting.
Yeah,
Are you talking about
really
soul
happy.
splitting?
Yeah. They have a lot to do in
I
this
mean,
lifetime of
that
get
just-
multiple of them.
That
Turn
was
it
my
this way
mind,
so
the unlimited. What do you need?
I'm getting up, I turn the camera so that when I get up, I'm not putting my butt on the camera.
Oh, good idea.
Or at least I try not to. Okay, so I'm gonna go around here, and anybody that would like to, it's just before 3. Is anything that you'd like to add, or, anything that came to mind and you didn't have the opportunity to ask, say, share about the Akashic Records?
I had one.
Oh, sure, all the way over here. Okay.
Joanne was saying that she thinks it's in your, aura.
Yeah.
Okay, so that accounts for individuals, but what about all the other collective ideas that have been around forever?
Well, I think that, for example, this meeting that we just had here, it leaves an energy of the meeting. So it would be the same thing. There's a record of this meeting.
What would it be? Would you say somebody's aura or what?
Well, first of all, it would be in each one of our auras in a frequency form, but also it would be here, someone coming in who, would be super psychic, would be able to say, well, there was a meeting here and here's what went on and blah, blah, blah. Because that energy, the emotional energy, the mental energy, the physical energy, all those vibrations are left here. So this would be the Akashic record of this meeting.
They're doing now, and I've seen it in movies too, is that there's a residual energy pattern of us. So, and everyone's frequencies are different. The same thing with each one of our organs resonates at a different frequency, is that now they can pick up your energy. I don't know, they don't call it plasma, but it's energy. So even then when you stand up and leave and walk out that door, that there's a
Residual.
type of, it's a residual, but they have some type of a machine or apparatus that can actually see that and see you getting up and walking up. Not you as much as the energy feel of you, the outline. Yes. And they can see you walking out the door and can see everybody moving.
That explains psychometry. Like, I could go over there and sit down where you're sitting because you've left energy there. I could sit down there and then give you a reading because you've left your energy there. So that, to me, is the explanation for psychometry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't psychometry actually say though it's an article or a physical thing that they read?
Right.
Because would that be physical? Would the energy be?
Yes.
Yeah, the energy
is physical.
Physical, yeah.
I mean, if it can be
Okay.
photographed and measured, it's physical.
Yeah.
Well, they can, no different than electronics, because they can, the
Exactly,
wattage and voltage and everything else can be able to measure that and see it. And
Well, that's like my machine. People say, how does it work? And I'll go, pick up your phone and call me. And I'm going to answer it, and we're connected. And that's how it works.
Right.
energy. Well,
Vicki, of psychometry, one time Cindy, my friend Cindy, I took a drum that was a native drum that was given to me over there to her. And she touched it, and I wasn't even asking for anything. And she said, this isn't yours. And it had just been given to me the previous weekend out of a native ceremony. And she said, but that's what she said when she touched it. She said, this isn't yours.
Trish Mack is at Cindy's church.
Yeah, Trish.
Trish did psychometry readings at our fair.
She and I were the prayer, in charge of the prayers together. Yeah,
Nice gal.
very nice. Yeah. And she can pull off overalls. She can pull off overalls.
And it goes along with your intent. For example, if someone hands you, a rock they've been carrying in their pocket for 10 years, my intent when I hold it is to read the person, not the history of the rock. Because you can do either one. That's your intent. You start.
Okay, so next month is regression.
no, not regression, reincarnation.
Reincarnation. I better get this straight
Yes,
since I'm helping her.
Yes. Good idea. Good idea.
That would be helpful. I'm gonna go over and your bread, I had just taken out the oven, so, yeah, I do. Okay, so. Okay, both. Which book is it? Uncloaked or Simon Journey? I know, which one? Uncloaked, okay.
Yes.
Okay, everybody, thanks for joining us this month, and next month, it's gonna be Reincarnation, first Thursday of the month, which is gonna be April, and 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, and I'm working on to be able to get it on YouTube Live as well, so I will be putting updates on my Meeting Ike series, Meeting IKE series, Meeting Ike series page here on Facebook, so I'll be putting that information there. And then also Carol Ann Leros, her assistant, will be putting information over there as well about it. So, and then I've never gone live on YouTube, so I don't even know what to tell you. I know that you can ask to be notified. So Meeting Ike series on YouTube, on Facebook, Carol Ann Leros on Facebook, and we are here in sunny Florida. Thanks for joining us. And if you're watching this as a rerun, go ahead. If you have any comments, anything you'd like to share, questions, put them in the comments. I'll come back, look at them, and get those answers for you, or share the info with the other people. Thanks for being here. Hope to see you next time.
Colors.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.